And we're back. Welcome back to LWG live stream. I'm Jared, and we're here with John and Mike joining me tonight.
What up?
And today we are going to be we tried to do this last week, but we were having problems with Google. We're going to finally do our recap of the recent local tournament that we went to, the Berks Spring Assault. Well, I guess it's just called Spring Assault now, but decently sized event. We had 16 in the Age of Sigmar, and then there was other events. There was a bolt action event. There was a 40K competitive event. There was a 40K narrative event. Overall, there's about 100 people there in all these different events, and it was a great time. So we're going to go over that, but we're going to be mostly focusing on focusing on the Age of Sigmar side, because that's what we ended up actually playing in. So we're going to do a breakdown of the event and our games and some of the tactics and strategy, things that we learned, things that we wish we did better, that kind of stuff. So does anybody want to take it away? Wants to go first?
I can.
Okay, go ahead, Mike. How was your event here? What did you bring? That's what we'll start. What did we bring, and why did we bring it? Yeah.
So I brought the Fire Slayer cheese, according to Jared. So we had a pretty basic list from a competitive standpoint. We had a Rune Father on foot with a Battlesmith, Rune Smiter, Rune Master. I think those are my 4 heroes. And then, of course, 20 Hearthguard Berserkers with pole axes, part of the Lords of the Lodge battalions. They're fighting twice. 15 Hearthguard Berserkers with broad axes, and then 10 Volkite Berserkers with picks and shields. And then from an Endless Spells perspective, we brought in the Flame Spitter and the Runic Firewall. So it was a pretty basic list. Of course, it was Hermdar, so command ability lets me fight, start the combat phase, which I thought would be pretty useful against Slanesh, Flesh-Eater Cords, etc. And then the command trait is great, being able to give me a 12-inch bubble, -1 to wound. Actually saved me a lot when I had a mirror match up against another Fire Slayers list.
That is brutal. Yeah.
But it was good. The first matchup was against a Sylvaneth player.
Hold on, wait. Before we go into matchups, why don't we start? So that was your list. What were you thinking going into it? From this is the strategic breakdown.
Yeah.
Before the event.
My other relic was the Nalcidian icon to block spells on a 12 or on a 4+ within 12 inches of a Battlesmith. So that was kind of my only magic defense going in. The whole Nagash list isn't huge in our meta, so I wasn't too worried about that. I knew there'd be some magic, but I honestly didn't even have to roll for the Nalcidian icon once in my 3 matchups, which was pretty nice. But from a strategy perspective, it was pretty much typical Fire Slayers, castle up around my 20 Hearthguard Berserkers that were going to fight twice, so obviously I had them usually center field with most of my heroes behind them. Volkites sitting on some random objective or screening if there was, depending on the mission. And then having my 15 broad axes is what I typically have them deep strike in to provide some flexibility on either jumping on a middle of the board objective or jumping in the opponent's backfield. But then also provides me the flexibility to just put them on in my deployment zone and have 2 priests from the get-go buffing everybody up. My Rune Master had Prayer of Ash, and then with the Battlesmith there, my Hearthguard Berserkers are at a 3-up save with a 4-up shrug. Savage. And then if I can get the firewall off there, then also rerolling 1s to save.
So we're going into tactics though. So
yeah. So it's a pretty good from a tactic perspective. I mean, it's buffed up the Hearthguard up as much as possible.
Yeah, they're tough.
And just run them across the board, get them in combat.
Nothing's going to be able to really fight them. I mean, realistically, you'd have to have something crazy to stand up against them and have it planned out. So, but going into it, what were your biggest fears out of lists that you were scared to fight, lists that you were hoping to fight? But yeah, because from the beginning standpoint at the strategic level, going in when you're building your list, especially if there's anybody watching that is a newer player or you're interested in tournaments, like that kind of like when you're first getting into it, how do you build a list for the tournament? Why did you decide on the list that you did, which I thought was a really good one. So, yeah.
Yeah, so from a list perspective, I really want to have a Magma drop on my list, but I just from a pure body count, I thought I needed the bodies to be able to contest objectives. Mobility is one of the toughest issues of Fire Slayers, which you saw that on our last battle report that's up now. So that's why I had to take the Rune Smiter on foot versus put him on the Magma draw. Really provide flexibility to contest objectives wherever they are on the board. From an opponent standpoint, anything with shooting or tons of mortal wounds is scary for a Fire Slayer list. Even though the Hearthguard have a shrug, the heroes don't. So they're pretty squishy now. And I forgot my list actually had 5 Arc Hearthguard, and their whole purpose was their bodyguard ability. Essentially, sit back and on a 4+, take that mortal wound from my heroes. I was worried against going John's list, actually. I'll let him go over his list. But knowing that he's got some ranged attacks in there, even though not necessarily the strongest, there's a ton of quantity. And that would really hurt my heroes. The summoning, of course, is a huge issue. I wasn't worried about Flesh Eater Courts. I had a couple practice games against them, so I knew from a competitive standpoint, if they charge me, I'm just going to fight first, double fight with the poleaxes. I'm killing the Terrorgeist. The Terrorgeist wasn't killing my 20 Hearthguard Berserkers in a go. Nagash is always worrisome. If he casts Hand of Dust on, my Battlesmith, I'm pretty much screwed from that standpoint. So,
and that's why shooting is really good, because
yes,
that's the big weakness of Fire Slayers is you rely so much on your heroes, and they are really easy to pick out for the most part. So,
yeah, like if you had your Vanguard list, I would have been a little worried. Vanguard, those Raptors, I mean, they're just
making Stormcast great again. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, Shootcast is pretty good for picking out those heroes. And at that point, you then also not only do you have the shooting to take my heroes, but then you have the mobility to jump to objectives, and I just can't catch you at that point.
Cool.
So yeah, any list that's fast. Sylvaneth actually gave me a pretty tough run up in the first mission that we'll talk about. But
cool. All right. Well, we scoot over to John. What were you prepping for? What did you bring? What did you prep for? What were you afraid of? That kind of stuff.
Our last event that we ran, Winter Blast, I brought the trees. I brought Sylvaneth. I brought Naru with Alario and friends. So after that tournament was over, I needed sort of another hobby goal. So I brought the lizards back out, Seraphon back out, and I started building a list that I wanted to build, which was the Thunderquake list. And so I started working this list and was loving it. I love dinos riding dinos, throwing dinos at you, dinos everywhere. Love it. And then lo and behold, it actually is a freaking broken ass list. So
yes, to your surprise,
I literally didn't try it because I was building it, painting it, playing with it, and then it's like, oh, it just won Adepticon. Oh, it just did this. Oh, it's like creaming everybody. I'm like, oh, the list that I'm running, really? Like,
no, I remember you messaged me and you were like, hey, Jared, my list just won Adepticon, and I was like, how is this? We didn't even know what was going
on. So I was running that, and it turned out it is really good. I started like stopping people at the club, and I don't know why. Like, this book has been out forever. That list has been out forever, and I don't know why all of a sudden it's now like superior. Like, it's just bizarre to me. Like, I don't understand.
Well, this is an excellent point. Now, just to break in, it's an old book. It's been out forever, and what you find is, anybody that's been playing video games for any amount of time, you notice this too. Sometimes there's like builds or characters or items or something that it gets overlooked because the meta is in such a place that nobody's really looking for that. And then all of a sudden, these little outlying things are sometimes able to just sneak in at the right moment, at the right time, and just punch the meta in the face. And I really feel like that's what that summoning in bodies and going for the objectives is the antithesis to these super damage output, monster, fast type armies that we're seeing.
So, and definitely chaff walls. really good, without getting into too much strategy, but chaff walls and being able to do extra damage against demons and just being incredibly resilient and having options. It turned out to be very good. So I felt pretty good going up against some Flesh Eater courts. I had some practice games against them. I felt good against Slanesh because laser lizards do a number on them. So do Razordons. And I can chaff up the speed of them, which is really good. I was actually afraid of Stormcast because lizards don't have a lot of random their stuff. So Stormcast, like Dracolines, Sequitors, Evocators have given me big problems in the past. Just getting through their armor has been very hard. And Evocators and Sequitors just lay waste to chaff walls, just absolutely waste to them. And snipers taking out summoning is a big problem also. So them and Skaven, just I don't know what to do with like Storm Fiends. Like I don't know how to stop Storm Fiends with that list. Just truck straight through me. I just don't know how to stop them.
I mean, you're not alone. You're not alone. Honestly, it's real tough, especially when they're screened by the little rats. Trying to get to the Storm Fiends is really difficult. And I think it's giving rise to the shooting meta. Like we just talked about the meta, the sneaking things. Shooting is definitely on a comeback. The problem is Skaven they just shoot better than most people anyway.
Yeah.
So, but you're right. The snipers and that kind of stuff.
And it turns out I should have been afraid of my a mirror match as well, because that proved it a very interesting battle.
You did have to do laser lizards riding on lizards, throwing lizards at lizards, riding lizards. That's
with lizards.
That was a fun game. We'll get to that one, I'm sure. So cool. All right.
And Jared, what did you take?
What did I take? Well, this was the debate, the great debate that I had. And I guess Mike had made a poll because I did not know what I wanted to take. So in our chat, he made a poll. Basically, what ended up happening was, thanks Games Workshop, he decided to release all the armies that I play like right in a row. It was like I started Stormcast. When they got their new book, and I was working on that. Played them for a long time. Then Goblins come out. I'm like, cool, I'll play that. And then Khorne comes out, which has been my main army for a long time. Right back to back, I am like hobby crazy doing all this work, and I love Khorne. So the thing is I got all the new stuff. I got the new endless spells. I got the new altar. I spruced up some of my old guys. I even painted Scarbrand because I ran a test game with him with this one list, and let's just say
he went God mode.
He did. Scarbrand.
He went Scarbrand on their ass.
He might be my spirit animal. I like him. So like Nate's not here, so
Patronus.
Yeah, he's my Patronus, Scarbrand. So great incarnate, yeah. Anyway, we had this test game against Nate's Flesh Eater courts, and he had a squad of 9 flayers from Blisterkin, and they came tearing across the board into my lines, killed like 3 of my squads when we went in and they attacked twice. But Scarbrand got a little close, and he pulled him in. And this is 9 flayers. They all have 4 wounds each. Scarbrand piles in. He's not even crazy angry. He's just normal. This is the first turn.
Normal angry.
But I am in range of the Wrathmongers. I am in range of the banner. Roll 3 dice. 6, 6, 5. So that's 40 mortal wounds into the squad before he even swings his other weapon. He just wipes out 9 slayers in one swing. And then it's my turn. I move up, kill his Terrorgeist, kill 20 ghouls and 3 horrors. Just like that, before he even had a chance to react. So I did that. I was like, I got to paint this guy. So I painted him up, and then I'm like, wow, this list is really fun to play. It seems pretty nasty, especially up against the right target. So anyway, it was between Shooty Stormcast, which I have been actually having a lot of success with lately, even though it doesn't, on paper, You look at the Stormcast list I was considering is it's a Lord Aquilor as the general. It's the Celestin Prime. It's Knight of Zeros, the Knight Venator, the sniper. 3 Vanguard Paladors, 2 squads of 5 Judicators, 3 Longstrike Raptors, a squad of Vanguard Hunters, the Knight Incantor with the Comet, and to round it out, the Noble Gryph-hound squad of 6 Gryph-hounds who win games like you wouldn't even believe. This list doesn't look like it would do anything on paper.
It's a good boys.
But it is, the good boy squad. Yeah. That Stormcast list, I think it was really hard to get used to playing it, which is one of the things that I was getting frustrated with it. It was a very big learning curve. But now that I've kind of figured out how it works and how much damage that I can expect to put out into different squads so that I can be where I need to be with the right application of force that I need to have, it is exceedingly powerful when used correctly. So, it's a little role dependent too. But if I get double turned, I get mauled. But the thing about it is, if I double turn somebody, I pretty much just win the game automatically because they don't have any heroes left. So, that's the one list I was looking at, and then my corn list was, like I said, Scarbrand, 30 Bloodletters, a squad of 10 Reavers, a squad of 10 Blood Warriors, a squad of Wrathmongers, the Banner, the Blood Secretor, the Bloodthirster of Unfettered Fury, and what was the other squad? Oh, 2 Slaughter Priests. Can't forget those guys. And the Skulls, the Hex Scourger Skulls, and the Wrath Axe. And that's the list. Running the Gore Pilgrims Battalion to make that banner bigger. And basically the entire list exists to support Scarbrand. That's which from my testing actually works really well. You just chaff wall him up. You throw all the buffs on him, and he literally deletes anything he touches. I've never seen him actually, when it's set up properly, fail to destroy a unit. It's overkill to the extreme. So, anyways, between those 2 lists, I couldn't decide. But then I was like, John was like, well, you just painted all the corn. You want to take corn. And I did. It was blood for the blood god all the way. So I went with the corn list. I think my biggest fears, and I said this going into the event, I said, if I have to play laser lizards, I'm going to lose because they'll just shoot Scarbrand with the laser beams and he's dead. And then that's it. So I can't get through the chaff really. I don't have any shenanigans. And if I have to play Skaven, I'm going to lose because, again, they'll just shoot me and I'll lose. But I was actually really excited to play Fire Slayers because I had and Flesh Eater Courts, to be honest, because I felt like it's a pretty hard counter to those lists. I also thought there's a really solid chance, especially at this particular event, and I know this is going to seem mean, but it is a tournament. There are always a pretty substantial amount of people that are bringing more fun lists than competitive lists at this event. And it was the same thing here. And I know that if someone tries to run a conventional list against that corn list, they're going to lose. You can't stop Scarbrand. So you have to have a plan. So, or be, lizards. That was the one thing that was not looking forward to. So there's my breakdown. I went with corn. And yeah, I think I had a good time. So maybe we should move into the tactics and the games section here now. So why don't we'll just start with round 1. We can go around to everybody.
So I went up against Sylvaneth turn 1. He was a newer player, but he saw a pretty good list.
So this was Jason Culp, right?
Yes, it was Jason. Yeah. So of course,
the mission
was what was the mission? It was the burning mission. What's the name of the mission?
Oh, geez, yeah. What mission did we play? It was it's
the Scorched Earth.
It's one of those. Anyway, it's the one with the 6. You have 3, and you can burn them in the second round. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I was a little confident going into the mission, thinking that I was just gonna walk through the trees, and I made a few mistakes, and I almost lost the game. But I'd set up my Volkites on my left objective, all of themselves in cover. They have a 3-up save. I figured they could hold on, and then I'll just burn it if they got threatened. Hearthguard, of course, we're in the middle, buffed up with everybody, and then another unit of Volkites on my right objective. And then I put my Hearthguard Berserkers with poleaxes in Deep Strike, thinking, if he tries to rush forward with teleporting or anything like that, I could just pop on his back objectives and potentially burn them there, and he wasn't going to be able to get me off of mine. He took turn 1, got a couple more trees down. Nothing really happened. Just kind of get some buffs up. My turn 1 started out really well. I actually almost killed his Durthu that he teleported through the trees really close to my left objective. Volkites got him down to 3 wounds, even with Berserker Fury, with him striking back and then them fighting back. Did not finish him off, which really hurt because I knew they were dead next turn because he had Gear Strike on him. So that was just getting through my Volkites pretty quick. And I advanced my Hearthguard up to try to. He had most of his army in the middle as well, but I left a small opening in the back for his spites or True Evidence to then teleport back. So he actually ended up. Oh, and then I also brought in my broad axes into his backfield because he left a small opening to where I could contest 2 of his objectives. Of course, I failed the charge, failed the reroll charge, so then they were kind of left on an island as well. His turn, he won initiative, burned all of his objectives and one of mine for 8 points. So I was pretty screwed at that point. I had to then hold my right.
That's a smart play. Yeah.
I had to then hold my right objective for the entire turn to get 8 points, and then somehow get back over to the left objective where my 3 Volkites were dead, and get that objective back and burn it before he could. So I got really lucky. I actually made a really long charge to his Tree Revenants, killed them, and then was able to sling and win priority into the next turn because it took him his whole turn to kill my 3 Volkites. I was able to then slingshot. I made a 9-inch charge with a 12-inch roll. Super lucky with Hearthguard Berserkers to slingshot them over and kill Durthu, kill his Dryads that he brought up over there, and burn that objective. And then it was just holding on to that last objective for the last game. So very close game. I ended up winning 8 plus 4, I guess 12-8 or something like that. I ended up tabling him in the end, but honestly, he had me sweating bullets for those first 3 turns. It was a really close game. I learned a lot. But Sylvaneth's about to change, so now it's relearning on his Sylvaneth if John ever brings him out again.
We'll be talking about that soon enough. John will be lamenting the Tree Song of Lament, but that's neither here nor there. John, take it away.
Round 1, I played, I think it was Bill West. His brother, so I think it's Bill and not Jeff. I think it was Bill. Running Goblins, the new Goblins, with a spider theme, which was super fun. Love this list. Love the theme of the army. So it was the new Goblins, but had two big spiders, spider riders.
They looked awesome too. He did a good job painting.
Get some fell waters in there too.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he had
tons of negative ones.
He had a group of 3 trolls. He had the Goblin big boss on giant spider, which is a little giant spider. And like all the endless spells, like everything, all of it was in there. All of it. One big block of goblins. No fanatics. There's a squad of one got bounders in there. So
very fast.
A little bit of everything, but very spider themed. He had all the artifacts, all the spells to buff up his spiders. So and they're super fast because I think y'all can like run and charge then or something. So I make my line, and I want to give him first turn for some reason. I don't remember why. And because I wanted to do the double turn. That's what it was. I was concerned that that I wouldn't be able to do enough damage to the big spiders, and I was worried about him doing a double turn on me. So, because that would have been a problem. And it turns out that would have been a problem. So turn one, he gets all the spells go off. Like he rolls like bananas, and they all go off. All the artifacts go off. So his spiders are like steroid spiders. They're like going crazy. He makes like his big boss on giant spider makes it into my lines on turn one, and goes up against a squad of skinks and a Bastillodon. I get Bastillodon sort of plug in there, hoping he would get in there, and I could just sit there all game with him, just tanking it. And it turns out he rolled like 3 6s to hit, which does like 32 mortal wounds or some stupid shit.
Right, because it doubles it, and then it doubles the double. So
yeah, like quadruple.
You didn't see that coming. He's like, "God, with the spider face."
I even made like half of them, and still the Bastillodon ate it. The skinks ate it, and I was like, "This is a problem. This is a big problem right here."
Yeah. That's good.
And the Spider Riders got in too, and they were doing some damage. And then I think I double turned him then, and I was able to kill one of the big spiders with laser lizards from space, the Razordons, and kill the Spider Riders. One squad of Spider Riders, kill the Goblin on giant spider. I was able to put all those down. And some stuff.
No, sorry. I guess you were kind of lucky in this regard because, like you were saying in the beginning, your army doesn't have a lot of rend, but you have a lot of damage output if they don't have things. And the spider, the goblins don't have a lot of saves, so I guess that kind of worked out to your advantage. Yeah.
Yeah. So and I was able to pull sneaky chameleon skink stuff. He had 3 trolls on an objective, on one of his objectives, and I came down on it with the chameleons, just out of range of combat, steal it, burn it. And I was
so good.
Even when I did, I'm like, I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry. This is so dumb, but I got to do it, and I did it, and I felt dirty.
That's why the lizards are good. That's what they do. Yeah. They win missions. Yeah.
That's not gonna survive a new book.
No way. No way that
dirty skanks did their job. But then I was able to get some summons off. One of the engines summoned 20 skanks. I think I was able to summon another 20 with the slime. So I was starting to flood the board and get some targets, draw them in, and when the boing rocks got close to my red objective, I burned that one and just sort of got them stuck in no man's land. And then he was throwing down the magic mushroom, which was doing a ton of damage because I couldn't block it. I just couldn't roll high enough to get rid of it, and it just kept going off and freaking just killing stuff. The scuttle tie was a problem. That kept being annoying in the way. And then we had a little conundrum. So I was able to teleport Skinks behind and burn his middle objective. So I was up, and then I think we were at the end of turn 3 because I was summoning so much crap and taking up all the time of the game. That we played it out, and I was playing that if you hold the objectives at the end of the game, you get max points. And he was playing that I didn't get any points because I didn't burn them, and it wasn't turn 5. Mm-hmm. And so we had a conundrum because it ended on turn 3. He burned his objective and was like, I win. And I'm like, no, you don't. I'm holding these 2. And he's like, no, you didn't burn them, so you don't get any points. And I was like, what? That's pretty Beardy because I clearly have these two objectives. Like that's like.
Well, and I guess the issue was you guys only got to like turn 3 at that point or something like that.
Correct.
Right. So, because I remember you guys have in that question, and I wanted to make sure. I guess from a judge perspective, I always want to make sure that if we can, if we can do one more turn, if we can get more of the game played to see what would happen, that's usually the right call to make. And actually, our event runs really smooth, so we had plenty of extra time. So I remember saying, "All right, now you guys just do that one more turn to see what happens." So yeah, I remember that.
I was totally shocked. I was like, "Oh, did I just lose on a technicality? Like really? Like that's kind of dumb." But so
I mean, and that happens though. That like again, if I would have if the call would have been nope, the game's over, then yep. Yeah, you would have gotten sacked on that. So
we played one more turn, and he agreed to this. We played one more turn. He tried to hand a Gork. He won priority. He tried to hand a Gork his 30-man Goblin unit onto one of my objectives to burn it, or to at least attempt a charge to burn it, and he just couldn't squeeze 30 Goblins anywhere on the board. Close, even remotely close to one of my objectives. He spent a long time trying, and it just 20 would have done it, but 30 is too much. So at that point, we called it because on my turn I just burned both of mine, and I won. So,
and I think this is one of the things as far as the tournament goes that I think I learned a lot. I think in the future I'd like to see more hard times to end because it's yours wasn't the only game that was causing confusion, and this happens at every event.
Oh, we'll get to that round too, right, Mike?
Well, I mean, and it's fine because that's how we ruled it, and I think everything worked the way that it should have worked. I think it's fine, but in the future, how can we tighten it up? How can we make it make more sense for everybody involved? And having the hard time, I honestly think we should say, hey, there's 20 minutes left in the round. If you cannot finish a turn in 20 minutes, there's a hard stop. You're going to stop wherever you're at. I don't even care. Like that makes it clear as day, and you have plenty of time to like wrap. Like in your case, for example, you guys, you had your game and you wrapped it up real quick because you knew what was happening. I think that's the case for that. So,
well, if John knew that too, then he could have burned his objectives his turn, and then there would have been
sure. And I think that it speaks volumes of the communication, even in tournament settings. In the tournament setting, there's a lot of gotcha going on because we don't help. In a club setting, you're going to help your opponent. You're going to be like, hey, I'm going to do this. You're going to communicate more just naturally. In a tournament setting, and I think rightfully so, the opponent should know the rules. But I think it speaks to, in your case here, for example, the communication about what are we all intending? What are we trying to do here? Is always, I think, important in a game. So, yeah, that's cool. Sounds like you guys had fun.
That's
super good guy, super cool.
On your opponent too, right? I mean, he easily could have just said no, I'm not playing it, and ended the game. So I mean,
and that's why you got judges. That's why you have TOs to make the call, and that's what in this case that's what ended up happening. And I think it's fine. I think that's how it goes. That's how it works out, and you just have to go with the results. But obviously, if the two players can figure it out, that's what we want. We want that's how games get played. And everybody makes mistakes. Everybody has assumptions, and we just have to communicate the best we can. So, yeah, cool. I guess that's me. Oh, that's me. Round one. So I went into this event. Brought my corn. I literally said, I know what's going to happen. I'm going to play Laser Lizards and Skaven the entire tournament. So when the random drawings came up, I was like, cool. There's 2 Laser Lizard lists. I know I'm going to play one of them. Boom. There it was for round 1, Laser Lizards. So I was I did a big sigh after I saw that I had to play Laser Lizards with my cord list. But I got to play against Emma. This is the first time I played against her, and she's a real competitor. So I knew this was going to be a real tough battle going into it. And there's the mismatch of it's laser lizards. Anything but
You
laser
wanted a
lizards.
Decepticon.
Oh my
event,
gosh!
right?
Yeah, she's good. So I was like, oh no! And then we roll for the mission, and in this event it was random rolls. So we roll for the mission, and as you guys had said, it's the burn the objectives mission. I'm like, great. There's like 3 strikes and I'm out. So I was like, okay. Basically, going into this, I know what's going to happen because I have played lizards enough. I understand the way it functions. I know what kind of damage they're going to do to me. I know what kind of damage I can do to them. It's really going to come down to a desperate gambit for if I'm going to win it all, or I'm going to be obliterated. It's one or the other. Now, I ended up deploying first, so I had choice. And I think this is actually one of the mistakes that I did make. But I will describe why I made the mistake that I made. I had to, do I want to go first or I want to go second was my choice in this mission. And I ended up taking the first turn. And my thinking was, and the reason that I decided, she had the whole line of the skink screen with the Razor Dons and the Bastillodons and all the Dons all hanging out back there. And I'm like, okay, we're not too far away from each other. I think it's like, what, 24 in this deployment, something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, basically, all I can do to win this is I have to get in there and I have to get Scarbrand, the Bloodthirster, and the Bloodletters in on some prime targets like the Slann or the Lead Engine of the Gods or the Razor Dons early so they cannot affect enough damage on me. And my gambit was I want to just advance all the way up the dang field as far as I can and pray that there's a bad first turn, that I don't take a lot of damage, and then win the priority and go in and wreck some face. That's really honestly the only chance that I would have in this matchup here. Sorry about that. 1 second. Actually, I'm going to have to take just a slight break. I know this is live, but there's an emergency upstairs. If one of you wants to take over talking about your round 2, I'll jump back in and do my round 1. I'll be right back.
Yeah. So my turn 2 was pretty much a mirror match. I went up against another Fireslayers list. He was running Lords of the Lodge, 40 Hearthguard Berserkers, units of 20, both with broad axes though. Battlesmith, Rune Master, Rune Smiter, 2 units of 10 Volkites. The biggest difference was the invocations. He took the Molten Infernoth. I took for the Firewall and the Flame Spitter. And then he went Vostarg instead of Hermdar. He took turn 1. He beat me by 1 drop. And I was actually okay with that because that allowed me, I deployed back, knowing his threat range. I knew he was going to auto run 6, run in charge, use the 2-inch rune for the Allegiance trait. So I knew his threat range was 12 inches plus charge, plus he gets, his Volkites get +2 to the charge, the Hearthguard get +1. So I knew he had a pretty big threat range, so I deployed a couple inches off of my line just to make his charge a little bit longer, but I didn't want to be so far out of position. And this was, this was Focal Points, was the mission. And so going into it, I knew my Volkites had to hold 2 objectives, and then I needed to send my Hearthguard blob into the middle to fight him off, and then I was going to use my other Hearthguard unit to contest another one of his, so that way I could try getting opposing objectives to get the additional points, get to 3 instead of the 1. So in his turn 1, one of the Hearthguard units actually made it all the way across the board, and turn 1 charged my Hearthguard, which is a huge, against most armies, having 20 Broadaxe Berserkers turn 1 charging is going to end pretty badly. But when you're going against Hermdar, I had 1 extra CP, so I burned it. Fought first with my poleaxes, wiped out about half of his broadaxes. I think I did 18 mortal wounds just my first round of combat. It was pretty good rolling. And then he fought back, rolled pretty terribly, especially with that -1 to wound, even though he was +1 to hit with his command ability. I think he killed maybe 2 or 3 of my Hearthguard Berserkers. Who then mine then piled in again, and I think he had maybe 5 left, if that, at the end of the turn. So not a good turn 1 for him, but he did get his backfield objective, his side objective, and the center objective. My turn 1, I pretty much just consolidated around the Hearthguard, got all my buffs off, got a bunch of the invocations off. My Flame Spitter actually one-shot kill between I think there's a Flame Spitter and the Aura Hearthguard. They one-shotted his Battlesmith in the middle of the field, which was huge. His Battlesmith was the 18-inch relic on that, and I think my Flame Spitter did 5 mortal wounds. I rolled 5 sixes.
That hurts. That really,
wow.
Yeah, and he was in cover too, so being able to just one-shot him with the Flame Spitter was pretty nice. Blocked up my my broad axes in his backfield to contest his back objective because he had his Rune Master back there and his 10 Volkites, so I knew I could easily win that. And then they're also in a position to help my flank out in case he brought his other Hearthguard over to contest my one side objective. But yeah, turn 2 was pretty much just mopping up his first unit of Hearthguard. But then he still had 20 sitting in the middle that I was going to have to fight. So turns 3 and 4 was pretty much a slog of just my 20 Hearthguard fighting his 20 Hearthguard. But mine with the mortal wounds was able to do a lot more damage since he was -1 to win against me. With my Rune Father hanging out with them. And over 2 turns, I was able to kill them as well. My broad axes came in the backfield, and at that point, he each had a few Volkites left. I was able to hold my 2 objectives, hold the center objective, and take the one in his back deployment. And so ended up being a pretty large win for me at the end of the game. I think I ended up tabling him because he had a desperation move of charging his Volkites to try and steal my last objective, and I was able to beat them off in between my Volkites and my Aura Hearthguard shoot.
Anyway, yeah, cool. Sorry, I am back. I apologize. The trials of home ownership and toilets. So,
Ross is here. And Ross
yes, welcome, Ross. Yes, Ross was also at the tournament. We'll get his input soon. So, backing up the clock a little bit, back to where.
Wait. Should I just do my round 2, and then you guys can do rounds 1 and 2?
Well, while I remember, I might forget. You might as well let me do it. So, backing up the train a little bit. Sorry about that. Where was I? Oh, yes. I had to make the desperate gambit. Okay, so that's why I went first. Now, in hindsight, it was probably a mistake because I should have gone for the double turn. And I don't know why I didn't, other than I just was being hyper aggressive and being cornered. So, anyway, I go up. All my stuff was out of range. I can't do anything. Hand the turn over, and wow, pretty much the worst rolling I've ever seen from a human being ever. Did literally no 1 damage to my Bloodthirster with the Laser Lizard list, and that's it. I mean, I had the +1 save prayer on him, which did help, but honestly, it was just bad rolling. It was like 4 shots from the Laser Lizard. I was like, okay. So the Razors killed like 5 Bloodletters, and that's it. I didn't take any other damage, and I was like, okay. And in fact, the summoning rolls were as low as you could get too. So there was only able to bank in enough points to bring out 2 Skink Squads instead of another like Salamander or more Razordons or something like that. So it honestly, the gambit was looking like it was going to work. It was perfectly set up. And then we go into the roll-off. Lost the roll-off. And then next turn, the dice were on fire and just blew away Scarbrand and the other Bloodthirster and all the Bloodletters. And at that point, I was like, good game, because there was actually nothing I could do at that point to actually affect a win or do damage to the army. I know I couldn't. But in hindsight, maybe going second in this situation, I don't think it would have mattered. It was all about the initiative roll. But if I would have won it, I can say confidently that I would have won. The way that it was set up, I would have killed at least one of the engines of the gods 100%. It should have been the lead one. I would have killed the Bastillodon, and I would have killed all the screens before the Slann, which would have been devastating. I don't know how there would have been enough firepower to affect me at that point, I would have 100% killed the only thing that's a rock hard in that lizard list is the Pastillodon. And Scarbrand was primed for an absolute easy charge. I even have the 6-inch pilot, and I don't even have to roll. There was no the Bloodthirster of Unfettered Fury's command ability gives me the 6-inch pilot. And if I would have got it, I would have got all the charges that I wanted because I automatically charge. I don't even have to roll. So it would have been devastating. I can say with confidence that I probably would have won that game if I got the initiative. But hey, I didn't, and that's how it goes. I thought it was a good game. Just playing certain matchups is just not fun, but a tournament's not necessarily all about fun. And I thought, competitively speaking, it was a good matchup. Gambits were made, things were tried, and the dice decide. That's just how it goes, and it was a good game. So, where were we at? Turn 2 now with John?
Yep.
And then, Ross, we'll just, after John goes, then we'll hit you up for your thoughts on your list, and then maybe your turn 2, your game 2.
Sure.
Cool. All right.
Or 1 and 2. You can do 1 and 2.
Just real quick, yeah.
So I don't know what was in the air round 2, but it was like everyone played their opposite. Everyone played the mirror match. So yeah. So I played the Space Lizards with shooty lasers round 2.
You're welcome, by the way.
And it was not the matchup I wanted. When you make a list, you don't necessarily make it to play against yourself. So, and I know that Emma had a lot more experience, and watching professionals use this list at Adepticon, and I am playing it in this puddle of Amish country, and I think
you just found out that it was good like last week. You're like, hey,
cool. Apparently my list is good. So I think this was more of a learning game, and I did learn a lot. How to play the army better, how to use some combos better. I was able to actually teach her some combos that she thought worked and did not work the way she thought they worked. So it was a good learning game, both sides. I sort of lost track of the time of the match, of the round, and she made a gamble and teleported her Stegodon up to claim an objective ahead of me. She got ahead in a couple points, and then we honestly just ran out of time, and I was never able to claw back into it. Pun intended. And I was making some moves at the end, but there just wasn't enough time to effectively come back and maybe try to win. It turns 4, it turns 5. I think I was making some good headway, but she made the right aggressive move at the right time and got ahead by a couple points, and that's how it ended up.
So I got to ask, how many skinks were there?
Well, I was going to get to that.
Okay.
So this game showed me why this list is dumb and why the General's Handbook needs to either stop this, or the new Battle Team needs to stop this. So at the end of turn 3, I think we have to take the end of turn 3, we had summoned a total of 170 skinks on the table, in addition to what we started with. So the entire board was covered in skinks, and it was freaking stupid.
That's awesome.
And it's got to be stopped. Like, it was dumb. It was really dumb.
I mean, I like the idea. It's just when things go a little farther than they should, it affects like the fun of the game. I don't argue the effectiveness of it. It's massively effective. It's just At what point does the fun sacrifice too much and the feel of the game? Right. Yeah.
Where like we're sitting there with like, one of the objectives has, 4 to 5 walls of skinks protecting it on her side and on my side. It's like, this is just stupid. Like, why are we here doing this? So I think I made her super nervous too. I think she was sweating like crazy because she started getting pretty punchy about a couple things. So I think I was making her very nervous too because she was not. Again, you don't design a list to play yourself.
Yep.
You design what are the best lists? Flesh Eater Court, Skaven, Slanesh. What are the best lists? You build your list to fight them, not to fight yourself. So I think we both had kind of a very nervous, cautious game, but yeah, it was good. It was good.
Good, cool. All right, Ross.
All right. Well, I brought my Beast Claw Raiders to.
Yeah. Brave man. He's a brave man.
Yes. It definitely was a brave move. So I went overall 1 and 2, which isn't that great, but for what the book can do, I think that's actually pretty good.
What did you bring, Ross? Too?
So my list was it was a 2-drop list. It consisted of the Eurobad formation, which is a Huskard and Stonehorn, 2 Stonehorn Beast Riders, and then 3 smaller squads of forget their name, the guys who ride the boars. So, and then I took 1 more Huskard on Thunder Tusk, the snowball guy.
Snowball.
Yeah. So it's a 2.
So Ross, how many models was your list?
Like 10 models.
Yeah.
They were painted. I didn't want to paint anymore, so
beautifully painted at that. I might add. Yes.
Yeah. All right. So my first game was against Chase, and unfortunately, this game here kind of highlighted all that was kind of wrong with my list. So I'm sure you guys have already gone over the first game. First game was better part of Val.
That's what it was called. We needed Ross. That's right. Yeah.
That guy Ross is here.
Yeah. So first, because of 2 drops, I get first turn. So first turn, I literally rush in. I'm able to get the majority of my army into hand-to-hand combat because Beast Claw Raiders are fast, and I was able to get in there. And what was the squad of the guys that he has? The ghosts. What are they from Night Haunt? What are they called?
Oh, the Grimgas Reapers.
Yeah. So I came very close to destroying that entire squad turn 1. There's like 30 of them in a squad. So I came real close to destroying them. And then because I didn't destroy them, but on his turn, they all come back.
They all come back. Oh, no.
Absolutely nothing. He essentially burns the majority of the objectives, and we just called it literally turn 1.
What are you going to do? Yeah.
Stupid Nagash.
The 1 or 2 guys that he had left in that squad, he regenerated that squad and daisy chained all the way across the board to my objective on my side of the board.
Oi.
Because I only have like 10 guys, there's no one guarding objectives. He took my objective and burned it on his app at turn 1.
That Nagash is a mean man. Yeah.
I mean, I did a lot of damage going in, but obviously in that type of mission when you're trying to you're trying to go for objectives, it's always tough.
That better part of Valor is very difficult for a lot of armies. That's a really problematic mission in a lot of ways. I have problems with that army too, or that mission, because my army wants to be aggressive. And just like you, when you're aggressive, what are you going to do if somebody pops up behind? That I have the same issue. Yeah.
And it's really good for teleporting free lizards.
Yeah.
Guess what? My army doesn't get anything for free.
Yeah.
All right. Well, how about game 2, Ross, real quick?
Okay, so my second game, I played against the one guy who brought Gloom Spike Gets.
Oh, you played the same guy that played John. Yes.
Yeah.
The spiders.
Bill West,
Yeah.
yes.
So he had primarily a spider-themed Gloom Spike Gets army. And because I have a 2-drop army, I was still able to I was still able to actually get first turn. I forget what the second mission was called.
Focal points.
Focal point. So first turn, I charge in like I'm supposed to because that's what Beast Claw Raiders do.
Ogre.
Yeah. And then the drawback is that between his HQ on Spider with an artifact and other type of shenanigans, I'm literally a -2 to hit.
Yep.
So for all of my great attacks, I am literally hitting on 6s.
Ouch.
Because Beast Claw Raiders start at 4. which really sucks if you have like a -2 on you. So for all my cool abilities, the game was a slugfest, and eventually that did come down to a loss for me, only really because I just ran out of models at the time. I had one bad charge roll that resulted in one point in the game where my Huskard had literally 2 units to go, and I rolled twice, and I wasn't able to reach either squad, and he was able to on his turn charge me and kill me with the guys who ride the squigs. Those really
Boing rots.
They hit you on the charge.
Boing rot bounders. Yeah.
Yeah, they hit me pretty hard and wiped out.
Cool.
And that was the big move. And once that happened, I had like 1 unit left. And like I said, I just you run out of models to hold objectives.
That's Beast Claw's problem right there. They're not durable enough. Yeah, and they can't hold objectives because you have like 5 models. So
well, that's the thing. That it's the problem with the problem I see in the book is it's a Sigmar 1.0 book.
Right, exactly.
In Sigmar 2.0.
And you knew that going in, and it's a fair assessment. Yeah.
I literally have a model that shits twice as many models as your army has. Like
right. In one turn, he makes more models than you have.
Right.
Like
twice as many. Right.
I actually do. I do see that as an overall problem with Sigmar currently. Is that this ability to just absolutely regenerate huge amounts of models for fairly easy cost or no cost at all. I mean, I do see if they don't really put this in the check, we could be playing 7th edition 40K all over again.
We were just discussing that a little bit before you jumped in about the idea that it's not that this stuff is bad or that it's necessarily broken. It is effective. It works way better than somebody has ever been implemented before.
Yeah.
But there is like this line between the fun and the way the game feels when you're playing it and against these things versus how much these should be allowed to do. I tend to agree with you that, well, Lizardmen are insane, but we all think that that's going to get fixed. Slaanesh is the other problem here that I agree with you. I think it is overboard the way it is currently created, which we'll talk about more in the Slaanesh review. But it's not. Good God, John, what is happening over there?
Late night munchies.
Yeah.
Pretzels, baby. Pretzels.
So the pretzel bag is literally the microphone is in the pretzel bag. But Slaanesh is an easy fix. Like I don't think any of this stuff is so far gone to say that it's 7th edition 40K, where that was insanity. So it's easily fixed. All they have to do is up the number of depravity points if they need to. We'll see how all this stuff works out. So, but cool. All right, that's round 2. Oh, that's me. I got to do round 2. So after my thumping in round 1, I went down to the bottom tables, which honestly I kind of like because now I get to have fun. So I got to play against the Zinch list. It was run by Adam Johnson, who is a fantastic guy. I would have picked as my best game, best opponent if we had that in this tournament. Maybe we will next time. Great time, great sport, and he had a really good attitude, and I really appreciate that. It just makes the games a lot more fun. So I want to do a shout out to him for that. And then his Zinch list is basically Zinch Mortals. He had a block of 20 Zangor. He had the Gaunt Summoner with the cogs and the spinny vortex thing that you stand on top of. I forget what it's called. Yes, The Balewind.
The
Balewind. Which, honestly, I was a bit worried about that guy if he could get some spells off, because the Gaunt Summoner on that thing can put out some damage. So I was kind of, that was out there. Then he had 2 squads of 5 Chaos Warriors. Maybe it was 10 Chaos Warriors. And the Enlightened on the discs, there was like 6 of them. And the Augury Thaumaturge. I love that
Dong,
guy.
dong, dong, dong.
Thaumaturge. So, and then what else did they? I think he had the Fate Master, or whatever the heck, not the Fate Master, the one that's on foot, the Caster Wizard. But basically, your classic Siege Mortals list, it's got, but with stock, instead of Acolytes, he was running the Chaos Warriors, and he has Demon Prince in there, which Demon Princes can be pretty nasty as well. Now, it was Focal Points mission, which honestly, I'm loving Focal Points with my Khorne army. It's one of those armies that, because you have to move to the middle of the board to get those 2 middle objectives, that I'm like, yes, come to me. Instead of standing back and hanging out, you have to actually fight me. So, yeah, that's what happened. I got first turn. I moved up. And I got the Hexgorger skulls off, which against his list is devastating. Because he's relying 100% on magic, and I got them off. They were in range of, I think, half of his casters on turn 1. And then
What do they do?
What do they do? Skulls. So you chuck them out 16 inches, and any wizard that casts a spell within 12 inches of either one of them is -2 to cast. If you cast a spell when you're within 12 of each of them, you're -2 to cast. And if you roll an 8 when you cast, all wizards in 12 inches of the skulls take D6 mortal wounds, and you forget that spell for the rest of the game. So it's pure devastation against the magic. So
especially since they need their spells to go off for summoning too. It's a double whammy for Siege.
Yep. So that plus I'm running Gore Pilgrims. So my banner guy has a 24-inch radius of, you have to reroll successful casts on top of that. And my Bloodthirster can attempt to deny, and if he denies on an 8, if I roll an 8 when I do it, your caster, it automatically blocks the spell no matter what you roll, and the wizard takes D6 mortal wounds on top of that too. So I'm ready to eat some magic. So yeah, I got first turn and I ran up. I got a big run on my Secrator of 6, and I put him in the middle along with my Slaughter Priests. And I had Scarbrand with the Blood Letters going around to the right flank, with the Blood Warriors going around to the right flank, and I had the Blood Letters and the Unfettered Fury going off to the left. And then he was kind of castled up on his back objective there. So the skulls, like I said, were in range of half his casters, and this is it. So I did my turn. I didn't have any attacks or anything or charges on my first turn. Go over to him. And he did not get a single spell off at all. Like, it was
rolling
bad.
or because of the skulls?
He rolled. What it was is he rolled well, and then the banner actually had every single wizard, because it's 24 inches plus the 6. I mean, that's like 30-inch range. I'm in the middle of the board. He didn't cast anything because he had to keep re-rolling. The skulls. The skulls. Did help because of the -2 on 2 of those guys, but then they also have the added effect of, like, he doesn't want to cast everything he can because he doesn't want his guys to die either or forget the spell. So yeah, it was devastating. And because of that, in his hero phase, he ended up doing a defensive move, which I thought was actually pretty wise, all things considered. You don't want to just run into the Khorne. You're going to get tore up. So he moved around and spread his forces out around the buildings and to get to the backs of the objectives. Well, then we go to the initiative roll-off. I win the initiative, and this is the coffin right here. So my Bloodletters and my Bloodthirster got into the Blood Warriors, and because I have a 6-inch pile-in, my Bloodthirster got into his Enlightened that were behind the Warriors on the left flank. My Blood Warriors got in on his center objective, were guarded by some Chaos Warriors. I outnumbered them at that point, so I took the objective that he was holding there in the middle. And then on the right flank, Scarbrand went into the 20 Zangors and did 52 damage and killed all of them. So it was just ridiculous. And then so he blows up all the Zangors.
It was a bad roll then.
Yeah, it was a bad roll. Blows up all the Zangors, but see the way it works on the left flank. All of my demons on his left flank, where the Enlightened and the Chaos Warriors I'm standing more than 3 away because I don't charge. So Scarbrand kills the 20 Zangors, and then it goes to my activation because I can activate 6 away. So I get to double tap him. So the Bloodletters go and kill all the Blood Warriors but 1. Then the Bloodthirster gets to go. And oh no, he activated his Demon Prince, who the Bloodthirster was near at this point. Did it wasn't a lot of damage, but he brought the Thirster down, I think 1 rank. But then the Bloodthirster went in, and because he has a 2-inch reach, he reaches over into the Enlightened. And on Reapers of Vengeance, so I spend the command point. The Bloodthirster can attack twice and kills all but 2 of the Enlightened, which at this point now he has. I mean, that's just you can't. How do you recover when you lose your Enlightened and your Zangors and 2 squads of Chaos Warriors with no retaliation happening? And that's what it was. So in his turn, he tried to retaliate. He brought my Bloodthirster down to like 4 left with the Demon Prince. And then I double attack with my Bloodthirster again, kill the Enlightened, kill the Demon Prince, Bloodletters wipe up. Scarbrand moves into the Augright Thaumaturge. That's like 100 mortal wounds to him or something and kills him. And the Blood Warriors mop up the backfield, and I got the massive victory there. He called it at that point, and I don't blame him. So, but again, good sport. I thought he played it as best you could. Zinch is in a really tough spot, and I commend him for taking them. So yeah, that was my round 2. We'll probably have to do, for sake of time, quicker round 3s here. So yeah, we'll move into the round 3.
Mikey?
Oh yeah. Okay.
Wait. Should we do Mikey last since he was in the championship game?
Oh yes, you're right. Yes.
I can do mine really quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So round 3, I get to play Skaven against Matt, who has been taking names at our ladder league with his Skaven list. He's rocking 2 bells, 2 big squads of clan rats.
3.
I think 2 big squads though, right?
Well, define.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think one's 20 and 2 40s.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 2 big squads of clans, like I said. A big squad of Storm Fiends with all the works. A squad of Globe guys.
Arch Warlock, the Arch Warlock.
The Arch Warlock of Doom. Yeah. 2 Grace Seers, of course. And the that stupid spell.
The Vortex.
The Vortex spell. So this game was really quick. So I took turn 1, summoned a bunch of stuff.
Wait. What was the mission?
It was
There's one where heroes or behemoths in the middle, 2 objectives.
Yeah. That one.
Whatever it's called. Ross, what's the name of it?
Sorry, which one was that?
For the round 3 mission. We can't remember the name, but we know what the mission is.
Yeah, I can't remember it either.
All right, John, go ahead. Yeah.
Either way, it's one with the 2 objectives, and only behemoths and heroes can cap them. So turn 1, I summon a bunch of stuff, move some stuff up, have an Engine of the Gods on one of the objectives, and cap it. And I'm sitting there, and he casts the Vortex. In his turn, he casts the Vortex in the middle of my lines. It goes off on a 13. I can't stop it. And he double turns and kills like my entire army out of it.
With the
and
Vortex.
It's really quick. So it kills the Slan, it kills an Engine of the Gods, it kills the Astrolith Bear, it puts a bunch of wounds on the Bastiladons. It basically kills my whole army by itself. The Storm Fiends open up and kill the engine on the gods on the objective with ease. And
Skating.
That was game. Like it was over on turn 1. Because he got the double turn, so it went. The Vortex went off 3 times before I even got to move. So they killed my army. So like it was really quick. It was over. I mean, we played it out and ended up killing most of the Storm Fiends with the Bastillodons that were still there, but it was a game over. Like I didn't have any heroes. Like it was just over. Like it was over. It was way over.
And honestly, his list was what I was thinking was going to win the whole thing. It's a devastating list. Yeah.
He had everything, and it was So
I guess quick. he had a bad round 2, and that's why he did not end up scoring a lot. I think he lost round 2 actually to Flesh Eater Court.
He lost to Flesh Eater Court because he got too aggressive and allowed a terror guys to get into his Storm Fiends and in one round eat them.
That'll do it. Yep.
And that was it. Yep.
Cool. Ross, round 3?
Yeah, round 3 for me worked pretty well. I had to play I can't remember the guy's name. He had
who were you playing? Or what faction?
The tree people.
Yes. Jason Cole.
Yeah.
Good guy.
Yeah, so for once the mission worked for me because this mission you had to be a hero or behemoth to hold the objective. So for once the actual mission favors me. So with this in mind, it just didn't work out for him. Literally, my army did exactly what it was supposed to do. It charged up turn 1. It pretty much destroyed everything it touched. He had a 30-man squad of the Reverend Spirits or whatever they're called.
The Dryads?
Yeah, the Dryads. That's it, yeah. He had a 30-man squad of those, killed them all turn 1.
That's what you like to see.
Yeah. It completely destroyed them. And it was fairly brutal. And even though he threw all the trees he could in my way to block my path, I eventually just went around them. Which is just really annoying, they get all these freaking terrain things for free. I'm kind of glad they're redoing that model because it's like I'm seeing people take these trees and they're not even assembling them. They're just putting down bases and saying up trees. Can't go through them.
Well, Ross is definitely
can't go through them.
Ross is definitely always critiquing the construction and painting of other armies. That is a Ross thing.
I assemble my crap. I mean, you're gonna throw some trees down. Throw them down and make your.
I mean, I can't disagree. I can't disagree. One thing that I cannot. Yeah, you're right. I can't stand the base of the trees with the little circle holes on it. Like I want. If I'm fighting trees, I want to see trees.
Yeah, and then the problem I have is you want to bring that. That's fine. But then when I try to go through the trees, they're like, "Oh, you can't pass over the circle holes."
Don't just put the trees in there. No, I get it. But that's like a very common Sylvaneth thing. So I guess a lot of people are used to doing that. But no, I hear you.
Yeah, so. Well, they're gonna have to go buy new trees now.
Oh, we'll get to that. Don't say it. John's super salty. So
makes great terrain though.
Yeah, you can always sell them to the club.
I am looking forward to buying discount trees for my terrain collection.
Agreed, absolutely. So you just parked on the objectives and your heroes rocked it out. Cool, good.
Well, pretty much that's all I had to do because I literally just destroyed the rest of his army. Every time I touched his army, his stuff would just disappear. This is the type of fight that my army wants, where I have no negative to hits. My opponent doesn't have a lot of synergy. He was also fairly new to the game, so he wasn't able to super synergize his list. So literally, he's not like making re-rolls and stuff like that, and all the other stuff that you see sometimes. So
cool,
fairly straightforward. I tabled him. So
all right, nice way to end it out.
Yeah.
I guess that leaves me for round 3. So round 3, I got to go up against the other Fire Slayers that are in the event, which was Jared Neiman. So it was the Battle of the Jareds. which I have been looking forward to playing him because he's a fun guy, and I always but never really got the chance. So this was fun. And honestly, I've been looking forward to testing out Khorne versus the new Fire Slayers because I think it would be a very fun battle and something that that I could actually see my list doing well at. So anyway, how did we go? So I won the roll-off, but I gave him first turn because I wanted him to move forward, and then I wanted the double turn, which is what I should have done in the other game. So, but I guess I learned my lesson and moved into it. And I know the way it's going to come down to, because he's got the 2 blocks of 20 Hearthguard Berserkers, which are devastating. I know what they do. And he's got 2 squads of the 10 Volkites, and he's got the Miner too, that he's going to pull out one of his Volkite squads, or at least, or can you bring out both of them, or just one squad?
Just one squad.
So I was worried about that too, because if he could pop them up behind my lines after I run in and kill my support heroes, like take down the banner, if he could take out the slaughter priests, this is going to be a problem because I need them. So anyway, he does move up. He advances all the way up, and he did not snag the left objective, but he did grab the right objective, which was probably his stronger position. So one of his heroes, he did the mining thing and popped up and grabbed the objective. So that was like, I was like, woo! He came up in the middle. I'm good now. It's just it's a straight line battle, and that's the way Khorne likes it. So it went to my turn, and I had my right flank is where my Unfettered Fury and my 30 Bloodletters were. The Bloodletters ended up making a turn. My turn 1 did their charge because they do the 6-inch pile-in. Along with the Unfettered Fury, he made it in as well. The Bloodletters made it into 2 Volkite squads, 2 10-man Volkite squads, and the Bloodthirster then went into the, I think it was a Rune Sun. I'm pretty sure. No, it was the Miner guy.
Yeah, he didn't have a Rune Sun in his list. He had a Rune Smiter, a Battlesmith, a Rune Father, and a battle.
It was the Miner guy. He was the hero that had it. My Bloodthirster made it into him. So I activate with the Bloodletters. They're in range of the the Creator buff, and they're rerolling 1s to hit, and they have the +1 to hit for their bonus. They murder trained these Volkite Berserkers. The one of his squads was a little bit outside of his Battlesmith, so he didn't get the plus to the save either. And I rolled pretty hot on the mortal wounds from them. So they piled in, and they killed about half the units of Volkites, and then I piled in again and finished off both Volkite squads, and the Bloodthirster killed the hero, claiming the objective on that side. So I got 1 point to his 1 point at that point. On the left side, I had my 10 Blood Warriors with my Wrathmongers and Scarbrand behind them. He had his 20 Hearthguard on the objective with his Rune Father on foot, just a little bit behind. And I had chucked the Wrath Axe over the Hearthguard and into his Rune Father and killed him with the Wrath Axe on the first chuck, just on turn 1, which was brutal. That hurt a lot. And so he did not even have a hero on the left side other than the Battlesmith, who was kind of like in the middle. So at this point, I was like, geez, I'm not going to be able to get Scarbrand into these Hearthguard Berserkers because he's not crazy mode on turn 1. I need him to be crazy mode if I'm going to stand a chance. So I just charged my Blood Warriors into the 10 Hearthguards, and I knew they would kill all my Blood Warriors, and I was banking on going on the double turn. It was kind of a risky maneuver because if he would have won, he probably would have killed Scarbrand and my Wrathmongers. But the Blood Warriors go in. They have a bucket load of attacks because there's 10 of them. They killed, I think, 4 Hearthguard Berserkers. Hearthguard Berserkers strike back, obliterate me, kill all of them. But I think I killed 1 or 2 more from rolling 6s to save, with doing mortal wounds back. And then because they're Blood Warriors, they died and they piled in again and they killed a couple more. I think all in all, I killed like 6 to 7 of them, which I thought was pretty great trade-off for the Blood Warriors. And then we went to the roll-off. I win the roll-off, and it's Undertaken time. Scarbrand immediately lets out a roar of rage and charges into the Hearthguard Berserkers, which there are probably 15 or 12 to 15 of them standing there. And I rolled 665 again for my carnage attacks, doing 40 mortal wounds, and did 15 or so more with slaughter. And he was like, "Can I see the book?" It's like, it was really funny. I was like, "I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you. This is just how it works." And we looked at it, and he was like, "I can't believe this." So we checked in the FAQs, and lo and behold, carnage is a melee weapon that has a special attack. So therefore, if you hit with it multiple times, it applies the special attack multiple times. He also agreed. Blows up the entire unit of Hearthguard Berserkers without them doing anything, claiming the objective. And then, so now I have both objectives. And then he had one more hero on the right side, and the other 20 Hearthguard were encroaching. So at this point, I actually abandoned the right objective because there's no way he can take the left one now. Scarbrain's standing mighty on it. I don't know. He has one unit left that can fight the 20 Hearthguards, and they have to pick one or the other. Scarbrain was far away, and he doesn't want to fight him anyway. So I actually flew away from the objective with my Bloodthirster up towards his pizza oven and killed his other hero that was up there. I forget what it was. The praying guy. It was by the pizza oven, so I'm assuming it's probably the Rune Master. I whipped him and killed him with the big whip. And then his Hearthguard then went, they got enraged by this, killed all my Bloodletters, killed all my Blood Reavers, and killed the Bloodthirster. They wiped out that whole side of the board. All I'm doing at this point, because he has no heroes left, because the Wrath Axe then flew over on turn 2 and killed his Battlesmith. So that and Blood Boil killed his Battlesmith, so he had no heroes left. I'm up on points, so that's officially the end of the game. We played it out to the point where no, it wasn't the Wrath Axe. It was the Wrathmongers that killed the Battlesmith. But still, there was too many blocks in the way for his Hearthguard Berserkers to make a charge on Scarbrand without Scarbrand attacking them. So Scarbrand would have just wiped them up anyway, because I could just throw models in the way to make sure I got the initiative on that. So there you go. I got max points on that one too. So I think at this point I had lost my first game with 0, but I got max score on the other ones, which put me into 5th place overall with Corn, which I thought was pretty respectable. It all came down to a day. If I would have rolled that 4 in round 1, I might have won the whole shebang, but you never know. Things change. You got to play different people. So I was overall really happy with the way Corn played. The list is pretty devastating. I don't think it's a lightweight list by any means. It's definitely a tournament list. So Scarbrand is insane, and I love him. So yeah, there we go. Over to Mike. Round out the tournament.
All right. So going into it, I knew there was, with this being 16, there was 4 of us undefeated. So I knew I was either going up against Emma's Dinosaurs, Chase's Nagash list, or the Flesh Eater Courts list. Ideally, I would have liked to play the Flesh Eater Courts. I think I could have won that matchup. I did plenty of play testing against that. Nagash, I would have been fine against, I feel like. I think my Hearthguard Berserkers would have went through the Ghost. And then, if you take rid of that 30-man unit of a Ghost, I feel like the Nagash list is much more manageable, especially if you can zone out the graveyards. But I got stuck with the Dinos, which
Lizards.
I was not looking forward to. Especially on this mission, she had so many behemoths in her list. And I only have 4 heroes, knowing that she can snipe them pretty easily. I wasn't really sure how I wanted to play it. The 2 options were pretty much try to contest on one for a few turns and hold the other one for the entire game and win, or just try to hold out on one and then put that on kill points, which I don't really like doing. I really don't want to make it a tie game and just count on kill points to figure out who wins. So from a deployment standpoint, I put my big block of Hearthguard on my left flank with all of the 3 heroes from the Lords of the Lodge Battalion. So that way I could have them +1 or +2 save. I get the Prayer of Ash off. I can put up the Runic Firewall. There's also a lot of buildings on that side. So hoping that, knowing how much she can summon, I was hoping that, with the buildings blocking line of sight, the Runic Firewall blocking line of sight, I could kind of just block myself in, and she'd have to. The only way she could get that objective is fighting through my 20 Hearthguard, which there's no way skinks are going to be able to get through that.
No way.
So I felt really good, especially when she deployed. She only put one Engine of the Gods and one unit of skinks on that side because she counter deployed. Pretty weak against my strong deployment on that side. So I knew immediately that the other side was going to be a dogfight. I put my 2 unit of Volkites on that side. When thinking back on it, I should have put 1 over to support the Hearthguard and the heroes. And then I put my 15 block of Hearthguard right with the Runesmiter. I outdropped her by 1. And I knew that if she got first turn, she would have been able to get up on the objectives, get some summoning points built up, and then it would have been a slog for me to get to those objectives. So I decided to take turn 1. I dropped the Runesmiter and my 15 broadaxes down onto the right objective. Really with the goal of just trying to hold that for 1 or 2 turns, get a few points out of it. And then I auto ran both my Volkite units up behind. And so what I was able to do is put Runesmiter on the objective, surround him with skinks, and I made sure there was not a single spot that she could pop up the chameleon skinks within that bubble. She did have 1 unit of 5, so they could fit in pretty close, and then the 2 unit of Volkites in behind, kind of buffering out any more summoning. And then I charged up everything on my left flank. I got my Runefather to claim the left objective, Hearthguard all blocking in front, Battlesmith and Runemaster behind with the 5 Auric Hearthguard there to kind of soak some wound. But they only rolled a 1 on my run roll, which really hurt because it meant they were 3. They had to be within 3 to soak wounds from a Runefather who had the objective, and they were just outside of 3, which came to bite me because in her turn 1, her Engine of the Gods hit my Runefather to do d6 mortal wounds, and of course she rolled a 6, which just killed my Runefather. So I lost that objective. Thankfully, I had 2 other heroes there to grab it back. Pretty quick, killed her Engine of the God. Like I said, the left flank was good. There's no issues getting through the Hearthguard. But the right flank, she threw everything at the Runesmiter. Thankfully, towards the end of her shooting phase, she got a little ambitious and split some of her shooting attacks and didn't put enough to finish off my Runesmiter in her turn 1. So that meant I won the initiative in turn 2, so I was able to hold the right objective for my 2 turns. She killed my Runesmiter in her second turn. I was able to tie up all of her big stuff. So my Hearthguard then advanced, charged, got both her Engine of the Gods, got her Razordons, got her Bastillodon, got her unit of Skinks or Skink Handlers, and I was able to charge in a way that her Razordons could not overwatch me. So I stayed just outside of 3, but I charged everything around it, and then used my pile and 2-inch reach to be able to reach them. And was feeling pretty good at the end of my turn 2. I made a mistake, forgot that she could teleport units, and Bastillodon was able to fit in. I should have left my Volkites back instead of charging them up, but she was able to get the Bastillodon right at 9 inches from the objective, move up to 5 inches or whatever. Basically, she was able to get right at the edge of 3 inches and still.
But she got the roll where they can move again.
She only failed 1 of those in the entire game.
Wow, that's all. That's
she's double teleporting.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she was having really hot rolls. But then it became a slugfest at that point. I knew with me holding that left one, she was going to have to somehow get me off of it to even have a chance at winning. And just became I was able to tie up, like I said, her whole right army. End of was it turn 3 or turn 4 was when time was up. I was actually ahead at that point, like 4-5-2. But we decided to play on because our tournament ended actually earlier than the rest of the tournaments going on. So
we did have the time, yeah.
Yeah, at end of time, I was winning. We ended up playing 1.5 more rounds, or like another hour. She had so many points. It was ridiculous. I think she summoned another 20 skinks, another unit of Razordons. Actually, no. Yeah, unit of 20 skinks, unit 10 more skinks, a unit of Razordons. It was ridiculous.
And that's just so hard to come back from. It's like the attrition, the lizards just keep having new stuff, and you can't.
Yeah.
you lose stuff and you can't bring anything back. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it was really tough. And I was just able enough to screen around, but I left my Hearth card actually one model outside of my 12-inch buff to fight a second time, which actually really hurt because then they would have been able to wipe everything up on that side. I also forgot when she shot my Battlesmith that Malara Hearth card within stages finally. So she was able to do a couple wounds to him that should have gotten passed off. And then she was able to kill my Battlesmith. And at that point, I just wasn't able to get my Rune Master over to get that objective in time. And then we're adding up going into turn 5. I would have had to have killed her bestowed on, which I think had like 2 or 3 wounds left, and I had nothing. I had like 3 Volkites left on that side of the board.
Yeah.
I just couldn't do it. So she ended up beating me. Very close game.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I made a ton of mistakes, so I learned a lot from that game. In hindsight, I think I should have not rushed forward quite as much, especially my Volkites. I should have kept them back, screened my Spider a little bit better. And then probably should have just doubled down on my left side objective even more, knowing that it probably would have been close on victory points, but then I at least would have won on kill points because she just couldn't kill much of my army. I think she only killed like the Rune Smiter and 1 unit of Volkites. And my Rune Father, she once shot sniped at the Battlesmith. I mean, not a whole lot died. But it was a tough game. So
cool. Hey, but that was.
I don't know where I ended.
I can look it up right now. I will show you right now. Now, we had also some interesting things happen with the Best Coast pairing app, but you actually ended up right below me with a 6. Now, I do know the way that we scored it, you came out ahead of me, but the way that the app, the Best Coast Pairings app, was pairing it is they were seeding it by the difficulty of opponents. So I guess for whatever reason, it put me up a little bit on that score. I don't know why. I don't even feel like I played more difficult opponents. So, you were 6 as far as the app goes. And where did John end up? Emma went on to win the whole thing as far as the app is concerned. But the way we scored it, Chase ended up having, with his Grand Hosts of Nagash, the best score, because the way we were doing it, we weren't ranking it based off of difficulty of opponents. It was just, did you win? It was win-loss, and then in kill points. So now we were discussing a lot after the tournament, which I think we're going to implement next year. We need to have some other ways to score some things, and I think that could really add a lot of flavor to the event. So maybe a sportsmanship type of thing, but not. I don't like the idea of going down and giving opponents points because that always gets torpedoed. But there's got to be something else. So we'll look into it. But overall, yeah, it was pretty good. Let's see. What did I say? John, you got 9th there. And Ross came in at 13, and this was out of 16 players. So the rundown was, Grand Host of Nagash, sorry. Seraphon, the Laser Lizards with Emma there, and Flesh Eater Courts with Jeff West, and Matt Obringer with the Skaven that John played was in 4th. So, and then me in 5th. So, yeah, overall, I thought it was a really fun event. I thought, surprisingly, a lot of really cool competitive lists. But that seems to be how these local events go. There's half the field is competitive, half the field is kind of just there for fun or painting or whatever. That's how it was at Winter Blast too. So, but overall, yeah, I had a really good time. Things went pretty smoothly. We learned a lot about as far as running the event too, and some things we want to add in the future. But congrats to Chase. I thought it was fantastic that he made a clean sweep. He got best painted, he got best general, and he got our new award, the Champion of the Realms, which is the combination of best painted and best generalship. But that's one of the things I think in the future we're going to we were discussing this, expanding that out to have more categories on how to win the Champion of the Realms that aren't necessarily tied to winning and painting, but some other categories that we would want to honor and reward, because a lot of different factors go into tournaments and what you're bringing. So, yeah. What do you guys think? Overall wrap up here.
Yeah, echo everything you said. I think it was a great event. Had a lot of fun, learned a lot, got to see some great painted armies.
Yes, painting was great. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we had talked about it too at the end. Instead of just doing like a sportsmanship, it was just out of everyone you played, what's the one person you like the best? And I think that's a good way where you're not really tanking anybody either. If you just had a bad matchup, it gets rid of the whole misconception of what's a whack player versus what's just a competitive list. If you just who is the most fun to play against, whether it's most fun opponent with the best attitude, if it was the most competitive match, however you want to score it. I think it's a good way to tie break, and hopefully we can test it out in some more tournaments soon.
Yes, I think we should. I think we are. We were discussing running one of our own again, maybe late summer or in the fall here. I think most of us were discussing a Forbidden Power narrative campaign this summer, and then we do a tournament in the fall. I'd like to do that. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Closing thoughts.
Like I said, thought it was a good tournament. I think I had a good time. Can't wait for my new Beast Claws book to come out.
Yeah.
That's going to be a while.
Hey, I don't know. The rumor engine today sure looked like an ogre with the vest that had there was a beard coming down, and it was like a strappy vest that looked very Mongolian-esque, which is
chaos for Warcry.
You think so? I don't know, man.
It looked
very Mongolian inspired, which to me says that just reeks of ogres to me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a rumor for 6 months from now.
Probably true. Yeah. John?
I'm looking forward to the trees coming out, even though they're going to be sad panda. But I do hope I'm anticipating the General's Handbook that's coming out in a couple weeks.
Yes.
I think they need to fix summoning. I think summoning's out of control right now. I really think there's some good summoning. I love summoning, but it needs to be toned down a little bit for certain armies. I think that was evident in our game in my round 2, where we summoned 170 skinks in 3 turns. I think that's pretty stupid.
Well, in regards to that, yeah.
There's no need for that. There's absolutely no need for that.
Something needs to be addressed because, for instance, in this event, I summoned nothing in this entire tournament as Khorne. Didn't even.
But you used all yours for other blood tithe?
No, I never spent my blood tithe this entire tournament. So, I mean, Scarbrand didn't need to, but that being said, I feel like looking at summoning as you were discussing, you got Slanesh, which is out of control summoning. I don't care what anybody says. It is absolutely out of control to get a keeper every turn. But theirs is not something that I think is difficult to fix. The mechanic is okay. They just need to reevaluate how many points it costs. But for now, whatever. I think some more testing remains to be seen. It does feel ludicrous to me when you're playing against it that I killed your keeper and it's back. I killed it again and it's back again. That's really frustrating.
The second edition battle tome that's been a little out of whack for summoning. I think Khorne's is pretty toned down.
Yeah, it got toned down a lot. Yeah.
Nurgle is technically a first edition battle tome that's very toned down. Tzeentch is extremely difficult to summon.
Oh, it's impossible. Yeah. And that was the point I was going to make. There's these ones that can summon that are it's clearly overboard, like Lizards and Slanesh. But then there's other people that can summon where it's clearly under. Khorne is way under now because they make us split our points between the table and summoning. And once we spend one thing, it's all gone. Nobody else has to do that. It really does hurt it a lot.
But I think the lizards just need toned down. I think I feel like the new battle tome, they're going to lose the engine summoning. I feel like that's not needed on top of the slime. The slime makes sense. If the slime doesn't do anything all game, he gets to summon points. Okay, that's a good mechanic. There's a check and balance there in the game. The engine is doing engine things, and it's summoning. I feel like it's not needed. I feel like it doesn't create good quality games at the club because I'm running 1,000 more points than my opponent. Like I feel like a dirty player doing that.
Yeah.
I'm not enjoying my game. My opponent's not enjoying the game.
Right.
And I think that's a problem.
Sure, because again, it's how the game feels. It's how you experience the game is a huge factor that they have to. I mean, I think that's the number one reason I would argue for balance. Because honestly, if we all want to play competitive, that's fine. I don't mind. I will do that. It's what it is it sours the experience though. Then that's always the difficult trade-off is how competitive do we want to get where we're turning off new players. And the majority of players, yes, do get turned off by hyper competitive. I know there's people out there that love it, they thrive on it. I get it. You're always going to have fun. But if 40K is anything to be looked at, I'm sorry, but 7th edition, 8th edition competitiveness is killing 40K for the majority of players. Yes, the people that like it, they're diving in and they love it. But it's, it's a cautionary tale, I think, of when the fun's gone, people look to other game systems because that's why we do this at the end of the day. I do think Flesh Eater Courts is in the same boat. They're just like, hey, it's a 3,500 point game versus 2,000, and there's nothing you can do about it. I just, boom, here's my bazillion ghouls. Like, that's not fun at all. I think Maggotkin and Zinc need to be buffed up with their summoning so they can actually do it.
Honestly, I would like Legions of Nagash to change.
Yeah.
I like the mechanic of your heroes giving like D3 models back to each unit. As you know, kind of like they're summoning them as people die. I don't think they need the graveyard on top of that. Maybe do if it's your vampires do D3+1, necromancers just do D3. You can buff it that way to where your units just keep recycling back slowly versus you killed it, it comes back, and it still gets to replenish.
In the defense of the Legions of Nagash, at least you can counter the graveyards.
Yeah,
at least you can move units. There's something you can do to stop it, which makes it, in my opinion, a more fun summoning mechanic. Because I know there's something I can do to counteract it. Flesh Eater Courts, Slanesh, you can't. There's literally nothing you can do. They just make thousands of points. And it's like the slime. What if it was a spell you had to cast? And that you could cast as many times as you want, but you had to cast the spell to then bank the points. So that I have a chance to block it, you have a chance to fail it. That kind of a thing. I think that could be totally reasonable.
But I don't think the Slon even him and him, like if you got rid of the Engine of the Gods, if you got rid of the Astrolith Barrier, like is another D3, like there's so many ways to stack it on. If it was just a Slon in and of itself, and you said
that's true, it wouldn't be as bad.
Do anything to get points, I think that's fair. Yeah. Because that's such a big caster and a big part of your army that you're sinking into. That
that's true. That's true. It has a give and a take, and I guess that's all I'm really asking for. Flesh Eater Courts is out of control.
But I think it's balanced because the slime summoning is wholly within 12 inches of him, and he can't cast spells to do it. So he's literally doing nothing on the field except for conjuration.
Well, that's something though.
And he summons at the end of the movement phase. He can't teleport that unit that turn. With a whole turn, then to really get in and affect the battle at all. Like I really feel like this line is a shining example of what summoning could and should be in the game. Like it takes a turn to sort of get them up and running. I have to spend 260 points for a unit to do nothing all game except summon points. So it takes me 3 turns to even make up his point cost at that point.
Sure.
So I really feel like he's balanced.
You're right.
Other armies like Slanesh, where they're doing Slanesh-y things the whole game, and they're getting something on top of it.
Exactly.
It just compounds, exponentially compounds.
Right. There's no downside. There's no check and balance to theirs. Same with Flesh Eater Course. There's no check and balance. You just get 3 points without spending anything, without sacrificing anything. That's the problem. There has to be a negative to it in some way. Well, I don't know what that is, but yeah.
Well, they could easily fix that in the handbook, right? So the options are either fix the summoning mechanic, which are like, Zinch, lower the points for summon, slash increase points, or you can just increase the points of the models, right? So what they had, it can fit right now in a 2,000 point list. Maybe it should only be like 1,750 or 1,500 worth of models technically. So if you increase, if you increase a keeper from, was it 320 to 400, well, yeah, it can still summon a lot, but you're going to get less depravity because you don't have 3 keepers anymore. So there's different ways they can get to fixing it.
You're right. There is a lot of options. Or like, for instance, how I would fix Khorne, because I think it's a little lackluster when compared to the other ones. I'm not complaining about it by any means because free Bloodthirsters is awesome. But what I would do, I would just leave it all the same. It's just when I spend Blood Tithe, it wouldn't all go away. So that now, if I have a lot of crude, I could summon a smaller squad. I don't have to just save for the Bloodthirster every time. I can use some of my other abilities in conjunction with some of the summoning. It wouldn't be out of control. It would incentivize me to use different summons other than just the big ones, and some of the other abilities in the game too from the Blood Tithe table. I think it would be a good fix. It would give me.
Actually, I like Khorne's mechanic, and I think it's toned down. I mean, killing 8 units isn't that easy to do.
No.
You can get you got 12, 15 tithe points when we played last week.
Well, we had a lot of heroes too, right? Yeah.
And I think the only thing I would change is if you're going to be able to keep them cumulative even after you spend them, keep that remaining amount. Would probably get rid of the D3 mortals to get a Blood Tithe, just because then you could just keep racking them up if you're doing D3 mortals every turn. I think that'd be the only thing that.
Well, that's what they fixed. That's what they fixed with the new book. Well, fixed, I say fixed, because before that one where you could cut your own guys and get a Blood Tithe point. You could do that prayer for every slaughter priest you had, and now you can only do it once, no matter how many. So you can only ever get that 1 point. Now there are other options in the book to get more points, but nobody takes them. It's like when a hero kills another hero, you get an additional Blood Tithe point, and boo. So they're way too hard to get. So overall, I think if I was to fix Khorne to make it competitive, comparable summoning to the people that are good, that's what I would do. I'd unlock Blood Tithe. Yeah.
Or I'd rather just leave Khorne and bring everything more down to Khorne's level.
I mean, sure. I think Khorne's a little bit underwhelming as far as summoning goes, to be honest. I think it should go up. I think Nurgle should definitely go up. Zinch should be way easier to summon.
So I would say in order of effectiveness, it's Slash, Khorne, Nurgle, Zinch. I would probably bring Zinch, Nurgle up to Khorne, drop Slash down to Khorne.
Yeah,
I think
I
you can
agree.
bring all 4 in line with Khorne to be all right.
Yep, I agree. Yeah. Cool. Well, nice. We got a little summoning discussion in there. Anyway, so we've been kind of done here if you guys are ready to go, but I'm down for chatting more.
I'm going to run early morning.
Okay.
I'm gonna wrap it up.
All right, wrapping it up. Anyway, if you stuck around this long, we appreciate it. We enjoy talking about AOS. We love the game. We had a great time at the tournament. Thank you to everybody that came out. We really appreciated it. I thought we had some really high quality play, some great players, and we appreciate it. So catch us. I think next week we're planning on the Slanesh review and potentially the Sylvaneth review, and the next week after that.
If they ever come out,
they will come out.
Well,
And
we've
then,
already seen the book, so yeah.
it's already out now.
We can have a discussion, yeah.
You can play it this week.
Yeah.
G-dubs.
I could.
Anywho.
Maybe I will.
Yeah, you should. So that, and then we've also been putting out a lot of more battle reports. We got the my Khorne versus Mike's Fire Slayers up on the channel right now. And next week, for those of you that are listening to the live stream, we are going to be having Stormcast Eternals versus Bretonians. Woo!
Those dinosaurs.
No, they don't exist. They're compendium.
They are real. They do exist. There's a battle report.
Versus Bretonians.
Yeah, playing against Chase and his Bretonians is fantastic.
Never heard of them.
So that'll be up next week, and then we'll be filming more. So keep in touch. Like, share, and subscribe, and comment on all our videos. It gets the algorithm likes that. And yeah, we'll catch you next time here at LWG.